Gentle reminder about the appropriate behaviour in the council chamber. We ask that everybody respect the councillors and officers when business is being carried out. Questions that have been put forward, somebody will get an opportunity to speak and listen to a response. But I would ask that everybody else please remain silent so that we can conduct all the council business tonight, not just the one item. You've got the right to film this meeting if you so wish, but I'd like to know before we begin whether anyone in the room plans to do this. If you intend to film the meeting or part of it, would you please indicate now? Noted, thank you. Thank you. As per point 22 of the Access to Information Procedure Rules, I ask those filming the meeting as a matter of courtesy that your recording is visible to those attending and that the right to film or record is limited to the duration of the meeting only. I do have the discretion to terminate or suspend any filming if it's, in my opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice proceedings. So the first item on this evening's agenda, we've received apologies from Councillors Birch and Martin. Are there any more apologies to be submitted?
Councillor Catterall.
Noted. Councillor Catterall. Next item on the agenda is confirmation of minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve this evening. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on 10th of April 2025 be approved as the correct record? Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? Would those members present at that meeting on April the 10th who are in favour of confirming the minutes as correct, please clearly indicate. Those against? Any abstentions? The minutes of the 10th of April meeting are confirmed. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the annual council meeting held on the 15th of May 2025 be approved as the correct record? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? In that case, as there are none that I can see, could we have the members present at the 15th of May meeting who are in favour of confirming the minutes as a correct record, please clearly indicate. Those against? Any abstentions? The minutes of the 15th of May meeting are confirmed. The next item on the agenda is item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members or officers have any interest to declare on any items included on the agenda? No. The next item on the agenda is number 4, which is announcements, and I'm going to keep that simply to remind you of my two charities for my mayoral year. These are the Salvation Army and the Army Benevolent Fund. We've received 2 public questions and have been accepted by the Chief Executive. The first question has been submitted by Dr. Barbara Neal, and this has been attached to our agenda. Can I ask Dr. Neal to approach the microphone? Please make your statement, and then if you don't mind, resume your seat until you're called to speak again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the last full council meeting, Councillor Vincent confirmed that Wyre Borough Council has duties as both the local authority and the landowner of Jameson Road landfill to the residents and businesses of Fleetwood and surrounding areas. Unfortunately, local residents and businesses are reporting adverse impacts on their lives, health and businesses. However, it seems that no one in local authority or government agency is interested in a full and proper evaluation of how the reopening of the Jameson Road landfill is impacting upon the local population. Last year, a similar situation occurred at Wally's Quarry landfill site in Staffordshire, which falls under the control of Newcastle upon Lyme Council. In the absence of other agencies investigating the impact, they decided to commission their own community impact study, a copy of which has been provided to you with this question. In the knowledge that Wyre Borough Council has ample funds for such a commission, as confirmed by yourself, Councillor Vincent, at the last meeting, I would like to request that Wyre Borough Council public funds are used to commission our own Jameson Road landfill community impact study, and if not, why not?
Thanks very much. Right, can I ask Councillor Bowen, would you please respond to the question as best you can?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can confirm that the council has approached both the I can confirm that the council has approached both the UK Health and Security Agency and Lancashire's Public Health Team as requested that consideration be given to the undertaking of a community impact assessment, as this falls within their remit. Discussions are therefore underway, and an update on this matter will be provided as soon as it is available. Thank you.
Dr. Neil, you do have the opportunity to raise a supplementary question if you wish, and it must arise directly from the original question or the reply given.
Before I go on to my second question, can I understand that the answer then is no, Wyre Borough Council does not want to do a community impact study themselves. Is that what you've just said?
I've said that they have approached the...
No, I heard what you said. I want to know what the understanding of that is. What is the connotation?
It isn't for this council to do it, it's for the agency.
No. So the answer is no, you're not going to do a community impact study?
We're not going to pay for one, no.
No, thank you, that's all I wanted you to say.
The agencies are.
No. Well, no, you said they're considering it, so let's just clarify the point there. So my second question is actually for Councillor Michael Vincent, who I hoped would have answered that first question, in fact. So recently, the Environment Agency produced an air monitoring report, which in many local residents' view was disappointing and inadequate. In my view, there are many issues that were questionable, including the site of the monitoring unit, the number of units and the chemicals monitored. This will be dealt with directly with the EA, who clearly tailor their monitoring for their legislative needs, and we will follow it up with them. However, Wyre Borough Council as a public body is responsible for environmental health and as landowner has different responsibilities than the Environment Agency. Wyre Borough Council has a duty of care to local residents to ensure that any industrial site does not adversely impact on the health and well-being of local residents. Close the Jameson Landfill Group has worked closely with local residents who are experiencing health symptoms and conducted a local citizen scientist pilot study on air quality. This study has revealed peak levels of certain air pollutants which appear to be above the recommended levels for causing health symptoms. Given that the responsibilities and aims of the Environment Agency and Wyre Borough Council are different, it is our view that Wyre Borough Council should take more responsibility for this situation as both landowner and environmental health duty holder. The air monitoring study needs expanding and a more comprehensive independent air monitoring study needs to be conducted, including volatile organic hydrocarbons, a chemical group that has not been monitored by the EA and which do cause significant health problems. Again, in the knowledge that Wyre Borough Council has ample funds for such a commission, I would like to request that Wyre Borough Council use public funds to commission an independent air monitoring study at Jameson Road landfill, and if not, why not?
Thank you, Dr. Neil. Are you all right with Michael Vincent, Councillor Vincent, or is Councillor Bowen going to respond?
I'll let you have a written response to that.
Thank you. That's enough discussion on that point. Thank you.
I think we should get an answer tonight. It's not sufficient to say you will get a written response. Our point of the public meeting is that members of the public are here to see what you have
You're not having you're not having an answer tonight. You're going to have a written response, and don't keep coming back to the mic.
Right, can we stop this? If you can resume your seat, Dr. Neil. It's within Councillor Bowen's decision to actually have a written response, and when you receive that written response, I hope it does answer your questions. Thank you. Right, I think that's enough on that point, so we're going to move on. Please resume your seat and leave the microphone. Thank you. Councillor Bowen will consider that. We have a second question submitted by Jessica Brown, and this is not, she isn't in attendance, so we're going to take the question and take it as read. Councillor Vincent, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have no plans to extend the lease until 2033 or any other date. The interests of our residents are always our primary concern. Public feeling and the number of complaints will be key considerations.
Thank you for that response. We now have questions on notice from councillors, and we have a question or questions regarding taxi licences, which has been submitted by Councillor Sir Robert Atkins. Please note that this was published as a supplement to the original agenda, so the councillor will direct his questions towards Councillor Berry. So Councillor Robert Atkins, would you please introduce and ask your question? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much indeed. The background to this, for the benefit of colleagues, is as a result of Baroness Casey's report, which, amongst other things, of course, was dealing with grooming fundamentally, but picked out an aspect relating to taxis and their control, and the fact that there didn't seem to be as much access and control as there ought to be. So my questions are simple. What proportion of taxi licences in Wyre are from other local authorities? What are those other authorities? How many taxi licences in Wyre are issued by Wolverhampton Council? And what powers or control does Wyre have over these externally licensed taxis? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Berry to respond to the question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Sir Robert, for your question. The use of the word taxi by the public covers two types of vehicles licensed by our council, and they operate in different ways. Firstly, hackney carriages, which are allowed to wait on authorised taxi ranks in Wyre and can be hailed by the public on any street in the borough. We have a policy decided by our licensing committee of limiting the number of hackney carriage licences, and this is currently 160 vehicles. Secondly, we have a private hire vehicles which must always be pre-booked through a private hire operator. The total number of hackney and private hire vehicles licensed by Wyre is currently 236. The term cross-border hiring refers to the practice of licensed private hire drivers and vehicles working outside the area where they are licensed. This practice is permitted under current government legislation, and there are no restrictions providing the operator, driver and vehicle and are all licensed in the same area. The answer to your question about numbers is we do not have up-to-date information as to the number of private hire vehicles licensed by other authorities which are operating in Wyre. The last time it was considered was in 2022, when the licensing committee looked at the number of hackney carriage licences. The figure of these private hires was then estimated around 5% of the taxis being licensed, mainly by Blackpool Council, Wolverhampton Council and Knowsley and Sefton councils. Whilst our licensing committee will soon be reviewing again the number of Hackney licences, it is estimated that the private hire vehicles licensed by other authorities has risen from around 5% to around 10% of the taxis, bearing in mind the use of mobile phones and apps provided by operators. In answer to the question, what powers do we have over externally licensed taxis? Our powers are limited to prosecuting if they use taxi ranks or pick up passengers who hail them on public streets. For anything else, we can only report them to their licensing authority to deal with them. Wyre taxi operators have expressed their concerns about cross-border hiring. Some feel this is affecting their finances and their ability to provide around-the-clock service for residents. Others question whether the testing and approving of drivers and vehicles is as rigorous as in Wyre. Nationally, questions have been raised on safeguarding issues for women and girls passengers. The government in response has said it will strengthen taxi and private hire vehicle legislation to enhance passenger safety, including introducing a national database. And as I said before, it is for the government, and the government only can change the current legislation.
Thank you, Councillor Berry.
To respond or not?
You are, Councillor Robert, but before you do, I would like to remind the public gallery that only one person actually said they'd be filming during this meeting, so if anyone adds to that, I'll ban filming. If you'd like to respond, Sir Robert.
Very briefly, Mr. Mayor, thank you indeed to the portfolio holder. I think colleagues are aware from the problems surrounding Baroness Casey's report that this is an aspect which causes concern. Indeed, you touched on that. And perhaps can I urge you and the leadership of the Council to press through our Members of Parliament for the government really to take action on this. I believe someone said the other day that something like 10% of taxi licences in the UK are controlled by Wolverhampton Council, with all the ramifications in terms of discipline, care and impropriety that could follow. Thank you very much indeed.
Councillor Berry, do you wish to respond?
I think we will be taking this forward. It's a very important point, and has been highlighted by the Casey report, to be quite honest. By coincidence, I think it's mentioned in tonight's Evening Gazette as well, because Blackpool are concerned about the situation. So it is one, I think, locally on the Fylde coast we can probably take forward in unity, because it's an important issue for our residents and their safety.
Thank you very much.
Right. The next item is executive reports. A polite reminder that each speaker has 3 minutes only, and there'll be 10 minutes of speaking overall for each executive report, but we will, if necessary, go slightly beyond that. So if you do wish to ask a question during one of the reports, please clearly indicate by raising your hand. Please also note that I may refuse supplementary questions in order to ensure that as many different members as possible are able to ask a question or make a comment within the period allocated. So the first executive report, can I ask Councillor Vincent to give the leader of the council report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, as I discussed with you before the meeting, I have a statement to read updating councillors with regards to the PFOA investigation, and as a result of that I may go beyond 3 minutes, and I would ask that you sort of use your discretion to allow more than the normal 10 minutes, because I suspect members will have a lot of questions. That's fine. Just very quickly with regards to local government reorganisation, any thoughts that this council was wealthy should be forgotten. The fair funding reviews, not just for this council, but for districts as a whole, is designed to starve us out of existence. There is at least one council in Lancashire who has been written to and told they will get a negative grant next year, and they'll have to make council tax provisions to impose huge hacks on their residents. It's not us yet, but who knows what will happen. So district councils, there may be some transitional arrangements between now and the date the government have set for local government reorganisation, but if they don't hit that date, there will be district councils across the board, and maybe before then, who aren't in as strong a position as us with reserves at the moment, who are going to the wall and are serving bankruptcy notices on their residents because they won't be able to provide services. We aren't in that position, but equally, what was a strong financial position when we last discussed it in April is not a strong financial position now, and members should be concerned because bringing it back to local government reorganisation, we are being asked to do this completely blind, because we can only produce plans based on the figures as we know them today, and that's all going to change in November or December. So we do not know when we put a plan into government in October, early November, when we'll get it on the 22nd of December, just how bad our finances will be going forward. We have no way of knowing whether the plan we are putting forward will work or not. So that the disconnect between local government reorganisation and the funding review is, to be honest, diabolical. Based on the advice I've received from the finance director, this could be far worse than austerity for our finances, certainly any individual year. So it is bleak, and we should not fool ourselves otherwise. With regards to PFOA, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I will read a statement. Stage 2 of the investigation saw shallow soil samples collected from 63 locations within 500 metres of the Hill House Technology Enterprise Zone. Sampling locations were selected by the EA using a grid-based pattern. I was only made aware of that the results had been received yesterday afternoon. I have not had the opportunity to discuss them with our partner agencies or council staff in any detail, and so I am not currently able to give you any of the detail members will want. As soon as we are able to, we will fully brief members on the results, so you are best able to answer any question your residents may have. We do not intend to release individual results from the Phase 2 sampling, as this may enable privately owned dwellings to be identified. Instead, we will explain that there are higher and lower priority areas, and we hope to receive a visual plan in the coming days to illustrate where the higher priorities areas sit in relation to Hill House. The latest available data shows the majority of areas within 500 metres of Hill House are considered lower priority for further sampling at this time based on published precautionary screening values used to assess risk for residential land use. An area to the south-east of the Hill House Technology Enterprise Zone is considered to be higher priority, where results warrant a further phase of inspection. This is scheduled to begin in autumn 2025. One area considered to be lower priority to the northwest will also be sampled further to reinforce the validity of the data. This is standard practice and will help confirm concentration patterns and support preliminary conclusions that this zone presents a lower risk. Letters will be sent to householders whose properties were sampled as part of the Phase 2 programme. They will contain information about the results and also whether their homes are within the lower or higher priority area. It is important to note that no areas have been determined as contaminated under Part 2A of the Environmental Protection Act 1990 at this time. Current advice from UKHSA is that local residents should continue to enjoy using their garden space as normal and to follow usual hygiene precautions by washing their hands thoroughly after working or playing in the garden or allotment, especially when in contact with soil before handling food or drink. Current advice from the Food Standards Agency is for residents to wash and peel any produce grown in the soil within 1 kilometre of Hill House in order to remove any soil or dust before eating. As members are also aware, while we cannot give advice to residents contrary to that of UKHSA or the FSA, I and this council have suggested residents employ a better safe than sorry approach and do not eat fruit, vegetables or produce grown in their gardens or allotments until the investigation is concluded and the outcome known. There will be a drop-in session for residents of properties that have been sampled as part of Stage 2. I do not intend to make the date public of this public, as those residents will be notified when we write to them. I think it is appropriate for members to be aware of this date so they can attend, and so I will arrange for them to be informed of this by email. There is currently also a drop-in session planned at Poulton-le-Fylde Football Club on Wednesday 23rd of July between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. when anybody can attend and there is no need to book. I have also asked the officers to arrange another session to ensure that anyone who cannot attend the public date has the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. We noticed 6 hands go up to ask questions, so I presume, Councillor Vincent, you'd rather answer each one in turn. Thank you. So first, can I ask Councillor Fail to make his point?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regard to paragraph 2.2 and the reference for the need to collect evidence of the ongoing environmental issues at the Jameson Road landfill, is the council at the point of being able to satisfy the legal criteria for statutory nuisance? If not, and in the absence of an abatement notice being issued, how are Transwaste currently being held to account?
They are being scrutinised extensively by the Environment Agency. We meet with the EA most weeks. There is a meeting with the EA every week, and someone from Wyre is there and the MP, and sometimes it gets cancelled, but it's most weeks. They keep us constantly updated. We are holding them to account because we are making sure that if there is a breach, that the EA know exactly how we and the residents feel about the fact that urgent action will need to be taken. There was, unfortunately, a spike in complaints last week. Now, what's most regrettable about that is Transwaste is seemingly spending a lot of money trying to get their PR better. It can't be much worse, but unfortunately they didn't have the sense to check the weather forecast, and they chose to do what were pre-planned works on some of the hottest days of the year, which is just outrageous and incredibly insensitive to residents who are clearly more likely to have their windows open. That was communicated clearly to the EA. The EA cannot micromanage the site. They don't have the power to tell them what to do. In terms of evidence gathering, we have been looking into one of the things that Worley Quarry did that was actually very helpful to them in gathering evidence, was they obtained a Jerome monitor which searches for sulphur dioxide in the air, which is the most common emission from landfill. It's not the only one, but it's the most common, and it's a good indicator. That will allow us to attend properties if there is a spike in complaints. We can obtain one of those at 2 days' notice. We're in discussion. They're quite expensive. That's not the barrier in this case. We're just working out whether or not, firstly, we need to make sure the staff will be trained to use it, and secondly, there's a rental option or a buying option, so it's going to go through the processes. So we are actively pursuing one of those. That will help us because it may help us use evidence that is admissible if we do serve an abatement notice. But for that to be effective, there will have to be a spike of complaints, and unfortunately the last spike was pre-planned work. So if we'd served an abatement notice, we would have known that actually 2 or 3 days later they would have dropped again, which they largely did, because actually they were pre-planned works. That should have been better communicated to the residents. It should not have been done on the hottest day of the year, and I've made that very clear to the EA, and they have taken that on board, and they will communicate that to Transwaste, but they can't compel them.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Can I ask Councillor Wells to ask your question or make your point?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for confirming that the council does not intend to extend the lease. Can I just clarify that the date of that was actually the 31st of December 2027? Furthermore, and it is, I believe, may offer some long-term reassurance to the public, but obviously it doesn't address the immediate concerns around the ongoing nuisance. And as we've just heard from yourself, you are continuing to work with the council as both. The council is continuing to work as both an enforcement authority and landlord. I think moving on really though, we understand that under the lease, it does provide for a security bond in favour of the council to ensure financial coverage for land restoration costs. Can the council confirm whether it has assessed whether this bond is likely to be sufficient to meet the full cost of restoration, particularly in a scenario where the operator fails to fulfil their obligations or abandons the site? If such an assessment has been carried out, could the council share the outcome, and if not, is there a plan to evaluate the potential residual liability that may fall to the council? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there has been what I would describe as an informal assessment, but at the moment our contractors, Wardell Armstrong, our consultants, they're only recently instructed and they have a huge pile of work that they need to do. They will be the appropriate people to assess that properly. With regards to the bond, the informal assessment would be that there isn't enough money to cover it in the worst case scenario, but obviously what work we would need to do will depend on what sort of condition that they leave it with. There is also, though, a guarantor. So in the event that Transwaste do not execute their obligations under the lease correctly, we have a blue chip company who we could pursue for any of the council's losses. So we do have double protection from expense, although the council would have to meet it in the first instance.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Right, we have Councillor Rushforth, if you'd like to ask your question or make your comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To be honest, I didn't really think I would have been speaking tonight, but after hearing Councillor Bowen's response to Dr. Neil, I do feel compelled to do so. Now, many of you here, a good number of you, will be aware that I've been working with a resident in Fleetwood for the past 2 weeks who was concerned about formaldehyde levels in her house. So I wanted to make sure that she did not have a source of formaldehyde within her home. She did not. It was outside. Step one. Beyond that, she bought quite a high-spec monitor, not a cheap one, quite a high-spec one, probably not a professional level one, but good enough to show issues. And issues it did show. It showed, as Dr. Neil has said, spikes in volatile organic chemicals. Now, volatile organic chemicals, as the name suggests, are chemicals which have very low boiling points, so they tend to be very quickly turned into gases. They are harmful. The volatile organic compounds that we're talking about are related to landfill emissions. They do not all have the same accepted level as a target level of safeness, some of them being very low, 0.03 milligrams per metre cubed, some of them going up to 0.05 milligrams per metre cubed. There have regularly been spikes of 0.07 and up to 0.1. So the safe level is being, the safe or accepted level is being exceeded. The chemicals that are part of this spectrum don't just include sulphur dioxide, and the gases I've seen the Environment Agency monitoring are methane, carbon dioxide, sulphur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. There is no specific monitoring of volatile organic compounds, and they do need to be monitored. There is a big gap in it. My point to Wyre Borough Council is, if the Jameson Road operators are responsible, the first thing is they should have been monitoring for this. Beyond that, there have been polluting incidents, we know this. There have been health symptoms, we know this. The Environment Agency are involved. I've been to community liaison group meetings with them. They are not monitoring volatile organic chemicals. They are not. Now, what I'm asking Wyre Borough Council to...
Can I ask you to be as brief as you can, thanks?
I will, Steve. Mr. Mayor, sorry. What I'm asking Wyre Borough Council to do is please keep the pressure on the Environment Agency. I hear you're getting a drone up, but sulphur dioxide is not the only one. Xylene, benzene, toluene. They have big health impacts. They have low, safe or accepted levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Councillor Vincent to respond?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to comment on the specific case. I think I emailed either this week or last week and said, these are questions for the Environment Agency. I will ask them of the Environment Agency and I will make sure you get a written response.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Councillor Higginson to make a point that he wants to make?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Vincent for his update. I'm not sure my question's covered in your initial update, lots of detail there, but my question is, with regard to paragraph 4.1, it's about the contamination situation. Earlier this week, AGC asserted there was no significant health impact from PFOA contamination. Is this council aware of any clear evidence to support this assertion? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would you like to respond?
Yeah, I'm certainly not aware of any either way. So my understanding of where the partner agency's investigation is a finding like that would be incredibly premature and not one that I can comment on either in support of or against, because I haven't seen any evidence on that. But I don't know where AGC have got that information from, but that's certainly not information that's been shared with me at this stage. That will be premature.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Councillor Charlotte Walker to actually make your point?
Thank you. It was just in relation to the local government reorganisation. I was just wondering, during discussions that have been taking place, has there been any discussion with regards to the current parish councils that we have and any impacts that they may have kind of long term when the unitary authorities come in?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, yes, I mean, parish and town councils will become more important than ever because, you know, with the fair funding review, I think it becomes more likely, whether we like it or not, that Lancashire is split into much bigger authorities than we're used to. So we are currently doing a piece of work to look at where do we not have town and parish councils, Thornton-le-Fylde was in Poulton. Is there an appetite in those places for those? What land do we own within existing town and parish councils? What services do we provide within existing town and parish councils? And what can we do to make sure that those assets remain protected by the local communities rather than be transferred to wherever runs the new authorities? So I see town and parish councils as being more important than ever, and we'll be working with them once we've done that exercise to make sure that the assets within their areas are best protected.
Thank you, Councillor. And I think the last hand was Councillor Swadden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having grown up in Germany, I've got a healthy scepticism for political parties that rise to power, promising reducing in government waste. To that end, my question is in regards to 5.4 and the referendum being proposed by LCC in regards to mayoral debate. I was just wondering if you had any figures of the cost of that referendum, considering the debate has already been had and settled, and specifically what percentage would be Wyre's contribution to this?
Well, our contribution will be £0. With regards to the referendum, I mean, it was obviously a political stunt. There was the figure quoted to me, I believe, by the leader of Lancashire County Council was around £250,000. So on the one hand, you've stood on the promise of a referendum, and on the other, you say you're going to cut waste, as you say. So the two things are not palatable. I don't think he thought for 1 second that referendum would be approved. I don't know if he's announced it's been rejected yet or not, but there has been a letter from government basically saying you can do one if you want to, but we won't listen to it.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe Councillor Sorensen put his hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to go back to Transwaste briefly. I just wonder what lessons has the council, or should we say the council, sorry, would you like to? I just wonder what lessons the council has learnt from the lease going to Transwaste, that they accepts it is learnt, and how any future lease might differ from those. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vincent, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So firstly, we didn't grant a lease to Transwaste. We granted a lease to a blue chip company. We were, once we had done that and then there was an assignment, our hands were tied once a reasonable request was made, and they put up a guarantor and they also put up a bond. In short, I think that the circumstances we have are exclusive to landfill, and I'm not aware that we own any other landfill sites. I've given a commitment that we won't be renewing the lease, so it won't happen in future. And if you believe Transwaste's leaflet propaganda, whatever you choose to call it, it's going to be full by 2028 anyway, so they won't want to extend the lease. So, hindsight would be a wonderful thing for me to sit here and say we wouldn't do it again. If I knew what I knew now and I was making the decision, I wouldn't do it. Of course not. But in terms of the lessons learned, they were a very unusual set of circumstances that have led us there. They are unfortunate and very much regrettable, but I can't do anything about them.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. That concludes the consideration of the Leaders' Report, and we'll now move on to the report of the Resources Portfolio Holder. Councillor McKay, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My report's before members. I'm happy to take any questions.
I believe Councillor Higgins put his hand up.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Mackay. My question is with regards 3.1 of agenda item 7B about the elections. This isn't a party political point, it's just about trying to encourage democracy. I'm quite concerned that we're in a position where people that are wanting to apply for postal votes, and I've been a postal vote and all my family for some years, that it's ongoing and we're suddenly having to reintroduce these things. I'm quite sure that this authority's hands are somewhat tied, but I think I'm pretty accurate in saying that about a third of votes in council elections and parliamentary elections are probably via postal votes. You must have been reading my thoughts. I was just about to say that actually, but you're very prompt there. I think the Mayor said that you're not supposed to interrupt though. Forgive me. As I was saying, I think our hands are somewhat tied, but is there any more that we can do? I know that it does highlight about communication, going out to people. I mean, I didn't even know myself that this was happening, and you know, we've got voter ID, and it's almost like we're trying to hinder people from engaging in the democratic process. So I just wondered if there is actually any more that we can do in addition to what's in the report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Before I ask Councillor Mackay to respond, I apologise for missing the son off the end of your name. I did. Councillor Mackay, would you like to respond?
I hadn't noticed, but I'm grateful to your kind words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like this is just, it's another hurdle to getting people out to vote, and we've already got enough. We want everyone to be out there voting, like you say, with the voter ID, and now with this, I wasn't aware of this, and people who have a postal vote, like you say, they've just had it, and it's generally there'll be a lot of older people, and not if we go out online, they don't necessarily see the communication. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this does need to be looked into further, and I think whether it's going into doctor surgery, whatever we can do to get that message out, and yeah, I totally take that on board and look into it.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe Councillor Mullen has got a question.
Sorry, thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is to Councillor Simon Bridge.
You've jumped.
You have to wait for his report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To be early than late.
To be early than late. You give me a nod. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
There are no more questions for Councillor Mackay?
Yeah.
In that case, we'll let her off the hook. The report is now concluded. Thank you. We move on to Councillor Bridge, Street Scene, Parks and Open Spaces portfolio holder. Would you like to give us your report, please? Oh, these are late hands going up, early ones for the next one.
Thank you. The report's before you. I would be happy to take any questions that you may wish to ask.
Thank you, Councillor. We're just frantically writing a list of what order people put their hands up in. We have so far Councillor Mulliner, who was already in on the first one.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Right, my question is to Councillor Simon Bridge. Regarding the termination of the enforcement contract, following on closely from Wise, is now Ness. Just another statistic in a long line of failed outsourcing experiments for which the public have had to suffer. So now, is it not time to look to a fuller in-house service? This not only would provide much needed jobs in our borough, along with the advantage of local people with an actively local knowledge and interest in reducing the problem of litter, dog fouling, etc. on our pavements, promenades, roads and open public spaces. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mulliner. Would you like to respond, Councillor Bridge?
We are looking at all options. It's commercially sensitive at the moment, but I can tell you one of the options is looking at in-house. But as ever, we want to deliver value for money as well, and also what is going to be the most effective and efficient. But as soon as we come up with an idea, it will come to Cabinet, etc., and you'll know about it. But it's one of the options being actively considered. Okay?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sir Robert Atkins, you've got a point?
Yes, Mr Mayor, thank you very much indeed. We have deservedly in this borough a good reputation for the management of waste and recycling, particularly as we worked with the last county council. Can the portfolio holder confirm that unlike some other boroughs, we're not going to change the way we collect our waste, the timings of those collections and the operation of them?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bridge, would you like to respond?
Thank you. Yeah, I read a report in the Gazette the other day that Blackpool are looking at changing their grey bin collections to every third week. We have absolutely no plans for that. We want to reassure the residents that your bins are going to be emptied as ever, unless the government comes and insists and therefore makes it law that we have to. We will retain exactly the same as we have at the moment. It works, our householders are happy, we have a fantastic record on recycling anyway. We are really up there in the recycling for the country, not just for Lancashire. So our residents are actively engaged with us. We find it very encouraging, and we find that the system works. It works well, everybody's happy with it. So, as I say, unless the government actually says, no, you have to go to a collection every 3 weeks, then no, we are going to carry on as we are.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. Councillor Rushforth.
Mr Mayor. Now then, Councillor Bridge. You've cheered me up. I feel like Simon, whatever his name is. You've cheered me up no end. 27,343 trees. Well done. Thank you.
Again, our green credentials, we aimed at 25,000, which was pretty a high aim when we were going for it. It was people saying, can we possibly deliver it? We've delivered a lot more. I can just say thanks to the team, because the team that have been doing it have been fantastic. They've engaged with local communities, with schools. I've been out there digging up and with them, and people are coming together, people are taking ownership of these areas. And so very proud of that, and very proud of the team that's been rolling it out, because as ever with the whole team, including we're talking about waste recycling, we are blessed with a superb workforce here in Wyre.
Now, I was very fast there, Mr Mayor. Can I just make one more comment?
If you must.
Can you please expand, Councillor Bridge, on the multi-agency operation to target rogue traders, please?
Sorry, no. I'll be up front with you. I will write to you. I have a slight overview of it, but to be honest, I'll be only able to give you half a story.
I'm okay with half.
But I really need to be able to do it, because this is like a quasi-judicial thing. So no. But I will write to you and let you know exactly what's happening with it. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. Councillor Rimmer.
Just to say thank you for the enforcement officers who will be showing their support to Poo Patrol and Prees or Gala by entering an electric vehicle. It obviously supports the residents' concerns, but also the Galas, and that's struggling quite a lot recently. We do get a lot of behind the scenes support from Wyre staff, licensing, etc., who help along the way, but it's a very visible physical presence, so it's much appreciated. And also just a small note for the notes, it's Prees or Town, not Parish. Thanks.
Well, thank you. It's been our pleasure, and we'll continue doing it.
Thank you, Councillor. We now have Councillor Farrell. I apologise unreservedly, and we'll cry all night now. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Bridge, I'm following on from Councillor Molyneux's comments regarding the NES contract. Was there a buyout clause, and if there was, do you have the cost that it's cost us to get out of it?
Right, so I personally headed up the investigation, and we had a meeting with the two owners of it. It was reiterated what we required of them, and we asked for more than that. So it was like reassurance because of alleged incidents. They're not as straightforward as it seems, but the alleged incidents, they then decided they weren't sure whether they could fulfil their contract. So by mutual agreement, the contract was cancelled, which doesn't cost us anything. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. Councillor Fale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the second consecutive summer, Jubilee Gardens, the main public park in Cleveland, has had the misfortune of being mistaken for a caravan site by travellers. Having immediately reported the issue to the duty officer, I'd like to pass on my thanks to all the officers involved in helping to speedily resolve the matter over the following few days. This is a costly exercise for the council, the police, the courts, and ultimately it's the council taxpayers of Wyre who suffer. We need to stop this happening in the first place. So can I ask what action is being taken to stop the unacceptable and illegal encampment, not just on Jubilee Gardens, but on all our public parks and open spaces before it occurs? Thank you.
Will you respond, Councillor Bridge?
Well, short of actually locking them up every night, there's not a lot we can do. When people turn up dragging a caravan, they can generally drive over a verge. And we also do have a lot of instances where locks are broken. That's mainly on industrial estates. Unfortunately, when you're talking about Jubilee Gardens, this time of year after Appleby Horse Fair, we get an awful lot of travellers who come down to the Fylde coast. Blackpool gets as many as anywhere else, and I have experience in another way, in another capacity, about what goes on in Blackpool. Other than being, it's very difficult to actually act before they turn up, because by definition they are travelling, they are mobile. So we might, I don't know, have somebody on full time at Jubilee Gardens, but they'll just go and park at a playing field. So what we have to be is reactive. I know everybody says proactive is a thing to do, but without the intelligence we can't. So all we can do, and thank you for praising the officers for being so efficient about what's been going on. That's all we can do. When these people park, we then have to react to that. We can't close every open space. And if we close some open spaces, as Blackpool did, Blackpool spent a fortune on their car parks and everything else. They just park elsewhere, so that you're pushing the problem down the road, but literally just down the road. So it has to be addressed once they're parked. And unfortunately, we can't do it before then.
Thank you, Councillor Bridge. And our final question, I think, from Councillor Sorensen.
I'd just like to say, in terms of the exceeding the target on trees, congratulations on that. I would like to ask, how many mature trees have been removed over the same period in the borough? And in addition to that, I would just like to draw his attention to something called the Bristol Tree Forum, which is one of many examples where, in terms of removal of CO2 from the atmosphere, it states that it will take 25 to 40 years before replacement trees are able to compensate for the loss of the mature tree. Thank you.
Well, I don't have the answer for you about how many trees specifically have been brought down, quite frankly. We're planting them as quick as we can. I know that, certainly speaking to our tree officer, it's not a light decision to have trees removed. But when they are removed, although this should be more in planning than anything than my portfolio, they are replaced at several fold. You're quite right about the Bristol study. What can I say? But carbon is something that we're trying to absorb, but it has to be done in a gradual way, I suppose. But I'm quite sure we haven't lost 27,500 mature trees. So percentage-wise, whatever it might be, even though the trees are, if you would like, young or immature, they will still be absorbing some carbon.
Thank you, Councillor. And that last frantic arm waving, be quick if you will.
Mr Mayor. Yeah, it's following on from Councillor Fayle's comment really, but in regards to King George's Field, and obviously I would also suggest that the bunding that's been put around there as part of the wetlands project there has been incredibly effective, and we haven't had the usual guests that we've seen in previous years. So I do understand your point though that we can't necessarily do that for every area, but it certainly has been effective there. But on King George's playing field, I asked at a previous council session about the contract, because on the other side, just next to the doctor's surgery, you've got the whole field that was supposed to be drained and redone. At a previous council session, I did ask you about that contract because they've made a mess of it, and you said that you'd had a meeting that day and you would follow up. I just wondered if you've got any further update on that, because I haven't yet had a follow-up.
Feel free to respond, Councillor.
Right, if you want specifics, because I say we had the meeting, etc.
Yeah.
May I write to you?
You may, thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Councillor. That concludes the consideration of the Street Scene, Parks and Open Spaces Portfolio Holders Report. We'll now move on to the report of the Planning Policy and Economic Development Portfolio Holder. Councillor Limarinel, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My report's for councillors. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Councillor Livesey put his hand up first, I think.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As the new UK SPF has started, are there any details on how the previous one did with allocations?
Would you care to respond, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Livesey. Yeah, the previous UK SPF ran from 2022 to 2025. It's now ended, of course, but I'd like to say a really big thank you to Claire James and Sarah O'Donez and her team, who did some absolutely fantastic work delivering lots and lots of projects that came up during that. It was a massive amount of work, and I know the last probably 3 or 4 months was very stressful for Sarah O'Donez and her team because they had a lot to do. The problem is relying on those who've been awarded money to finish their projects can be very difficult because there are very strict timelines on it, and if the timelines aren't met, then money has to be paid back. But just a bit extra to it, we were allocated 3.9 million over the 3 years, and we have to pay back £8,861, which I think is absolutely unbelievably brilliant. So I'd like to have the 8,861. I'm sure Sarah did everything possible to spend the last 8,861, but it just didn't seem possible. But I'd just like to thank him and thank the team for doing that, and thank them going forward for the next allocation as well. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you for your response, Councillor. I believe Councillor Higginson had a point.
Mr Mayor, you got my name right this time. Councillor, thank you. Councillor Larimel, it's with regards Places for People, the development near Hickory's restaurant, and specifically by Fleetwood Road North. If I can just indulge you for a moment or two, Mr Mayor, where Bone Road traffic lights are, there is a bus shelter there, and behind that the fencing is broken and missing. There's shrubs desperately needed, and it has been used as a cut through. I've been in touch with Places for People. I've also had site meetings with residents in that area, and of course the dividing boundary between the new development and one of the residents, it's actually Bowen mowers, I think the repair and service lawn mowers. The boundary is a dyke there, and I'm absolutely terrified that perhaps a child or someone may fall and whatever catastrophe might happen. this site needs completing properly. And as I say, I have been in touch only today. I've had several discussions with people for places. My purpose is to hold a site meeting with them and with some of the residents that I've already spoken to. I'd like to ask if you would also be willing to attend such a meeting. There's lots of things that need tidying up, but my chief concern is one of safety. As I say, there is a dike there and it's becoming a cut through, and I bet you can all find little areas in your own patches where similar things happen. So it's an invitation to do that, and can I politely request that you might be available to attend and meet the residents and the officers from places.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you care to respond, Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, actually, I'm aware of this this fence you're talking about, funnily enough. It actually wasn't meant to be permanent, and I know there's been a lot of dumping of stuff and mess on there as well. It was MPL that removed it, and MPL, I think, it tidied the part of the site that was sort of allocated to them with the stuff that's been dumped on there. But I'm absolutely happy to come and meet the residents and have a meeting. It's perfectly right to do that. I look forward to doing that. I think with the fence being gone, I know you say about the cut through and stuff, but it does make Jigsaw and the the new build there, it does make it a bit more connectivity for residents to be able to get through to Poulton Farm. But I'm happy to come and have a meeting, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. So that concludes consideration of the Planning Policy and Economic Development Portfolio Holders Report. We'll now move on to the report of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holder. Councillor Berry, would you like to give your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do my best to answer any questions put by colleagues.
I believe Councillor Belshaw wanted to say something.
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're having meetings alongside a PCSO on Mount Ward starting this week. I'm just wondering how we can reinstate the packed meetings. Would you be willing to work with me on that, around Wyre even, to get packed meetings up and running again for the residents?
I think I'm right in saying that the police have decided not to have packed meetings in the form that they were before, and so I'm trying to sort of do my best to get round that situation by having meetings with local councillors for an area who can put questions obviously they receive from their residents, and I think that's the way I'm trying to get round this issue for the benefit of you and for the benefit of our residents. And I'm happy to, as I say, try and roll out as many meetings as I can arrange in the next few months.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. Any more questions? Councillor Wyre.
Hello. I just had a quick question on the Our Future Coast project and the readiness survey, including the climate coastal change and climate change survey that went in and around Fleetwood. If it was well responded and any results that we've had so far, thanks.
Councillor Berry, if you'd like to respond.
I think this sort of, I mean, Our Future Coast, the principle of Our Future Coast is to get residents and landowners to agree to what we're proposing, the natural flood protection measures. And this is one of the steps that has been undertaken on our behalf to gauge the views of residents on climate change, rising sea levels, what sort of protection they would like. I mean, one of the things that they came out with that they didn't want all concrete, they didn't want all natural flood measures, they wanted a mix of everything. So it's a matter of our engaging so that we get the feeling of how residents want things to be progressed, because quite frankly the funding for concrete and hard sort of protection measures is going to be limited, I believe, going forward, and the EA in particular are stressing the importance of natural flood protection measures which we are in the lead of, I believe. I believe we're one of the few sort of authorities to start making this as a way forward. So yes, it was productive, and it's giving us an idea and getting residents on board. I think that's one of the things that why we're doing these things, to protect them and the families in the future as well.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. I believe Councillor Rushforth put her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just looking at it from a different perspective, as you might know, Councillor Berry, I do follow our Future Coast and things Carl Green's doing, regularly go to meetings, even though I missed the Pie and Pea one. However, what I have learnt recently, the impact on small farmers with regards to the overall plan, you know, the 100-year plan or whatever, where land beyond Cochrane will return to marshland. Some farmers I know that are first generation farmers working very, very hard. They rent a small amount of land, they rent a house. They are very ethical, and they are probably going to go out of business because the chap who owns the land is selling to the government for this future plan. So although yes, we're protecting residents, we have to remember the impact on farmers. Thank you.
I agree. There is a shoreline management plan which is in place. I'm sure you've read it, what it says in your area. It is a difficult area that you're talking about to protect and keep the shoreline as it is. But it's something that obviously we will be looking into as time progresses. But that's how the Environment Agency has laid it out. Now, it's our duty as representing our residents and landowners to see if we can improve on that and come up with some measures to maintain that area of land that is worked on in a lot of cases. I understand a lot of sheep are on there, etc., etc. So it is used, so it is of benefit.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Wells has a point to make.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's just in relation to a comment that you've just made, actually, Councillor Berry, in talking about the lack of funding available for flood defence. I would agree with you that on the face of it, there isn't probably a fund. However, and whilst I appreciate the efforts around the marsh projects, that can help. My understanding is it wouldn't help enough, and that whilst we've got the fantastic scheme around Anchor Zone, we are effectively leaving the back door open with the arrangements around the Wyre estuary. One of the areas of funding that is available is the National Wealth Fund, which has got specific money for developing ports and other things, and I do believe that there are various projects out there in the ether in Wyre which refer to things like tidal barrages, which can also help us significantly with our flood defences. Properly organised and aligned with the right partners, you could actually get a 2-for-1 where you get your port developed and also a flood defence. I just wondered if that's something you'd be willing to talk about further. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we're already talking about, to be quite honest. I mean, that area of the estuary that you're talking about is maintain the line of defence. So that's for definite. So that may very well mean strengthening, well, it will mean maintaining and strengthening, if needed, the existing sea defences. Now, some will have to be concrete or whatever, but we're still working on ideas on natural flood measures in that area, working particularly in the Stanner area. I think there's something up at Fleetwood we're looking at to strengthen the foundations of the area up in the Jubilee area. So they go hand in hand, but I'm just trying to say that I'm not saying that funding will stop, but funding is going to start to decrease, and we've got to think, sort of positively how we can sort of work for the future. And I think this is it. If we plan now, I think we can do a lot to save our estuary.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. I take it there are no more questions, in which case That concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio Holders Report, and we'll now move on to the report of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holder. Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Would you like to introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my report's before you. The only thing I'd like to add is that I'd like to thank all the officers and the volunteers and everybody else that's given their time to all these various events what we've got here and all the events what are coming up. The Wonderland project is, they've now sold 1,500 tickets, which is amazing. So I think it's looking like it's going to be a really good day. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. I think we have 3 questions. Councillor Dulcie Atkins, I believe you were first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say a very big thank you to Wyre Borough and to all the officers for the fantastic response we had for the cricket pavilion, well, the new cricket pavilion. I cannot get over the fact that it you know, when it started with everybody getting together and having committee meetings and involving the local people and obviously officers from Wyre, how quickly the building has gone up. And you have to remember, getting buildings built is not one of the easiest of things in life, because suddenly, you know, one particular group will say you've got to have this and you've got to have that. But it has, and it opened on the 7th of April, and it was a brilliant evening, and you had all the youngsters on the cricket field practicing and learning how to play cricket, and it really was a wonderful night. And so thank you to you all, because, you know, you put so much work into it, and it's been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, it has been a fantastic thing, and the communities all come together, all the businesses and everything in the area, and it's been really. I just hope that Cotton Hall Pavilion is as good.
I think we have a question from Councillor Charlotte Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just in relation to the volunteers, because it's great to see that there's been so many volunteers that were celebrated during that week. I was just wondering, in terms of volunteers that maybe help in the parish council, so those people that go out on a regular basis and do litter picking in their areas, are they registered as volunteers, do you know, or would they be able to be included in that celebration if parish councils put people forward for joining that celebration as people that have maybe really helped in the community, which has actually helped the council at the same time?
Councillor Bowen, would you like to respond?
I'm not sure about that, but I'll let you know.
Thank you. Councillor Minto.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Bowen on running the Marine Hall. We attended, Councillor Livesey, myself and the local MP, the Beatles Complete show last weekend, and it was a very, very good show. Unfortunately, it was marred by lack of bar staff, and this it's not reflected on people drinking a lot, but it meant that the stragglers were coming into the theatre when the show was running, and that ruined the show for a lot of people. So could I ask the portfolio holder please to contact the management of Marine Hall and ask them to assess their bar staff. And finally, it was a great show. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bowen, would you like to respond?
Yeah, we've had some fantastic feedback from that Beatles event, and also from the ABBA one as well that was on previously. They have done various things to try and speed up the payments, etc., for the drinks, by using the card machine and things like that. They're looking into various other ways of trying to speed up the drinking problem. It has been a bit of a problem, bar staff. I know that they can't rely on, when they try and get agency staff, they don't always turn up, so it is a bit of a problem, but they are trying various things to remedy it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also full of praise, you'll be pleased. I asked in the previous meeting about the marshmallow sales, so I'm pleased to see both of all our councillors and elder residents are pleased to see that the sales have gone back on the mill this week, so very much appreciate that, and thank you everyone at Wyre Council and all the contractors involved, very much appreciated. And also while I'm on, myself and the Cleely's Car Show Committee would like to also thank everyone involved in showing that it went ahead again this year, and all Councillor Bridges' portfolio, his team as well. All the bins were emptied and it was a great day, and of course the weather helped, so it was a good day at Advite also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bowen, would you like to respond?
Yeah, it has been a bit of a nightmare with the with the mill, but I'm really pleased the sales are back on now and it can move forward. And Cleely's Car Show, I'm pleased that that's gone ahead as well, because that looked like it was in trouble at one time. But the council went above and beyond, to try and get them to reinstate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Councillor Higginson, prove me wrong, I think I know where you're going with this.
Wish you were here. You might recall that I did raise this issue, I think it was last October when Pink Floydian was on. It's a great band to see. These tribute bands are very, very good. And I'm sure that the Beatles one was equally enjoyable. I'm far too young to remember the Beatles though. But it's just an observation. It seems that we've still got problem with staffing of the Marine Hall. And if you recall, when I raised this last time, I didn't realise that a lot of the staff there are volunteers as well. Unsung heroes. So it's sad. It's a sad observation that we're still having problems. And Councillor Bowen, you did say that we're doing our best and everything, but that was last October, and it would appear that we're still having problems with the staffing. Pink Floydian are coming back, by the way. I did say at the time that, no, seriously, I did say at the time that that's a popular attraction, actually. But I did say at the time when I last raised it that they were actually performing at the Opera House, and that was a concern, which they are doing. But they are coming back, I think, in the autumn, so hopefully we'll get the path situation sorted by then.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bowen, would you like to respond?
Yeah, the new events manager hasn't been in post that long, and it's him that's really pushing it forward to try and sort out the drinks and the staff. He's having a restructure, and we'll see how we go on in future. But he's working really hard, and he has put some really good events on. So we're going in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor Bowen. Councillor Wyre.
Just in response to that, Mr Mayor, I was quite surprised to hear that the bar staff by volunteers. I think if we've got high reserves, one of the best things we can do to support residents is pay them.
Would you care to respond to that, Councillor?
There may not be, that was just what Councillor Higgins said, the volunteers. I was quite surprised.
I don't think the bar staff are volunteers. I'm sure they're not.
There are people who volunteer at Marine Hall.
Yeah, it's not the bar staff.
Just a point of clarification, Mr Mayor. What I meant was not the actual bar staff, but people that were working in there. I'm sorry if I've misled you into thinking that it was the bar staff, but nevertheless, I congratulate them for it. But it was still chaos. But sorry about the confusion.
That appears to conclude questions. So that concludes the consideration of the Leisure, Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holders Report. Now is the opportunity for members of the Cabinet to make comments or ask questions on the reports of their colleagues. Do any Cabinet members wish to do so? Thank you, Councillor Vincent.
On what was just being discussed, if I may, Mr Mayor, part of the problem at the Marine Hall with bar staff is we are reliant on temporary agency staff to come in and do it, and they are by their very nature just incredibly unreliable. So it's a problem that lots of hospitality premises face. It's one that's been a problem for several years, and it's something that we just, we are working hard to get right. As Lynn has said, the new bar manager is working hard to get right. We are doing a piece of work on the old bar through the doors, so hopefully that will make things better as well. But it's a problem that it's not easy to solve.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Councillor Bowen, would you like to add anything?
No, I wouldn't.
Short answer, thank you. Oh, Councillor Lamarino wants to ask a question.
More of a comment, thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councillor Bridge, it's just on the gateway to the Wyre estuary now. It's all been completely finished. I will point out it was paid for by UK SPF money, of course. But I walk down there all the time. I speak to many people that now use that didn't use it before, because it was like just a mud bath basically. Even in the summer it could be a mud bath, and the new path is just absolutely fantastic. Some great comments from residents and people that use it, and lots of people from out of town that come in to use it as well, which is equally as good. So just a big thank you.
It is actually fantastic. I recommend it to anybody to go down for a walk, and the thing is you can take push chairs, wheelchairs. It's completely accessible. I take my dog down there several times a week. It's fabulous. Come down and have a look. Yeah?
Bring the dog.
All right. We'll come and play with my Eddie.
Do we have any more Cabinet Member questions? If not, that concludes consideration of executive reports. So we'll now move on to the agenda item 8, revocation of the Chapel Street Air Quality Management Area. Councillor Bowen, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The air pollution around Chapel Street in Poulton was caused by the one-way system, the busy crossroads at the top, and the volume of traffic using this road, plus buildings on either side of the fairly narrow road. This caused above acceptable limits for nitrogen dioxide and other pollutants. The council changed the Poulton through traffic by making a link road through Hardhorn car park. This improved the traffic flow through Poulton. The levels dropped dramatically, and the pollutant levels have remained well within the nitrogen dioxide and other pollutants acceptable levels for concentrates since 2012. The council has retained monitoring air quality management. DEFRA have now stated there is no need to monitor the air quality any longer, and so the council will now start a process of revocation. Wyre will compile an air quality strategy to make sure the whole borough is continually under the pollution levels which we've maintained for the last 12 years. If any councillor wants any more in-depth information, Corinne Mason will be glad to have a meeting or send them an email with all the full report.
Thank you for proposing that, Councillor. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Any comments, questions or amendments, please? And Councillor Lamella now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a call this week from Mr. and Mrs. Nixon. I believe they're actually in the room this evening as well, and they had lots of questions regarding this as they live on Chapel Street. They were quite detailed questions, and of course a lot of them I didn't know the answer to, so I did speak to Corinne Mason for quite a lengthy period of time, took down lots and lots of notes, rang Mr. and Mrs. Nixon back and relayed what Corinne had said, but she was very keen to speak to them, which I was really pleased about. So I'm hoping that Mr. and Mrs. Nixon had the chance to speak to Corinne this week and allay any fears that they may have. Just one thing, it's not clear in the report of actually who makes the decision to do the ACMA. So if you could clarify that, that would be really good. And I do believe that monitoring, even though it's not needed anymore, it will carry on for quite a lengthy time. Thank you, Mr.
Do you wish to respond to that, Councillor?
Yeah, it's DEFRA that we have to, do as DEFRA saying. If they say you're not to do it anymore and notify them, that's what we have to do. I think that the local people thought that we should have, we should contact them to see if they've got any views on what we're doing, but actually it isn't our decision, it's DEFRA's decision. That's why we didn't go out to the public consultation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Instinctively, I'm a little uncomfortable with this recommendation, but councillors are seemingly being asked to rubber stamp this as a result of national guidance saying that the air quality management area should be revoked after 5 years of compliance. Even the climate change deniers might understand the benefit of cleaner air, reason enough to decarbonise our world. Chapel Street does suffer from slow-moving vehicles, and that is bad news for the health of local residents who have to put up with poor air quality. It's not clear what current action is available specific to Chapel Street, but there are things that will improve matters across the borough. For instance, improving public transport and moving away from petrol and diesel vehicles as quickly as possible. This council, LCC and eventually the new unitary all have a role to play in making that happen. Respiratory issues are a problem across the borough. Indeed, in Blackpool, North and Fleetwood, the rate of those respiratory issues is 3 times that of the norm. As such, there should be a commitment to improve air quality across the borough. It wasn't totally clear if we were going to get that, and still like Councillor Bowen to confirm this, the precise meaning of paragraph 5.3 when it says improving the air quality within the district. I was going to ask, is that the district of Wyre or the district of Poulton? I think you've answered that. I think you're saying it's the district of Wyre. However, irrespective of that, I think we believe that the paragraph would benefit from an amendment that refers to the whole of the borough, as this could then cover the requirement for air quality monitoring at Jameson Road and from AGC. Thank you.
Councillor Bowen, as the proposer of the recommendations, could you please respond to the debate? Thank you.
Yeah, it's traffic pollution that we're supposed to be looking at here. So anyway, it is the whole of the borough, and it's usually roads, narrow roads like Chapel Street, with high buildings on either side. But the whole of the borough, not one place that they've monitored has come anywhere near the national level, that everything is below, well below half the national level. So obviously we're doing the right thing.
So just to clarify then, can we amend 5.3 to say within the district of Wyre? Yes. So do we need to formally do that, Mr Mayor?
We'll make that noted in the minutes. Are you happy with that?
Right, Councillor Bowen, that concludes the debate, as far as I'm aware anyway. Would members please vote now on the recommendations? Those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. Apparently it's unanimous. Those against, just to be on the safe side? No. Anyone abstaining? No. Thank you. The recommendations are approved. The next item is item 9, proposal to establish a local government reorganisation, LGR for short, working group. Councillor Vincent, would you please introduce the report and one of you propose the recommendations?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, firstly, the legal advice on local government reorganisation that we've received, because I know that, Mr Mayor, you've had an email from a resident, is that the council's proposals are a matter for cabinet, they're a matter for the executive. Now, I don't personally think that's right. I think that that should be a matter for full council. So we will be bringing our proposals to full council. Full council will make that decision, even if it's then formally adopted by the executive. So that's the first thing. Second thing, we've talked already from Councillor Swatton earlier about the faux referendum that LCC are proposing. The same resident raised the fact that this council did pass a motion that said we would have a referendum on LGR. Unlike our colleagues in Lancashire County Council, though, we don't want to waste money on a pointless referendum. We passed that motion prior to the devolution white paper being released, which confirmed clearly that this was happening whether we liked it or not. So we would simply be having a referendum on something to do nothing other than waste money. So that's why we're not doing that. So they're the introductory points. With regards to the group, there is no obligation to set up a working group of this type. Because it will report effectively into the executive rather than full council, it does not need to be politically balanced. However, I believe it is absolutely right and democratic that we have a small, efficient, politically balanced group so that we can come together and discuss with the main opposition party how best to formulate a proposal for local government reorganisation and to look at the evidence. One of the first things on the agenda for that group will have to be how we engage with all councillors and how we engage with the public. So that will mean independent councillors, the groups of councillors, however that may happen in the future, all councillors will be invited to have the opportunity to have a say. What that looks like will be a matter for that group. So I trust that makes clear why this is being brought forward as a 6. Big groups become unwieldy, people don't attend, etc. We need to make sure that we have people going over the evidence at a high level in a lot of detail, analysing it properly and efficiently and making recommendations that make a lot of sense rather than and see where the evidence takes us rather than this becoming unwieldy, unproductive and a waste of everybody's time.
Thank you, Councillor. I take it you're proposing that. Can we have a seconder? Are there any comments, questions or amendments? Councillor Fail, first hand up.
I just have a few observations, points to be answered. With regard to 6.3 and the matter that is allegedly for the exec, I think you've confirmed this, but can you just confirm again that the whole council will get the final say on this? Para 6.4 confirms that the group membership does not need to be politically balanced, yet then goes on to try and justify keeping it politically balanced. However, instead of getting the numbers as close to the required political balance as possible, i.e. 3 Conservatives and 2 Labour, a committee of 6 has been proposed by the Conservative group. For the benefit of all councillors, a committee size of 5 gives the least over-allocation of Labour and Conservative members, 0.625 as opposed to 0.75 over-allocation for a committee of 6. Given the Labour group haven't got the numbers to put this into effect, we won't propose an amendment, but hopefully the leader will do the right thing and propose this amendment himself. On the matter of meeting arrangements, with no dates or times confirmed, you'd have thought that in order to be as flexible as possible, that substitutes would be allowed. Clearly that sensible approach has not been taken on board, so we would request that paragraph 6.8 be amended to say meetings will be convened as necessary by Democratic Services and Scrutiny Manager in liaison with the Chief Executive and all members of the group, ensuring a meeting only goes ahead when all members can attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fowle. Councillor Ellison, please. I take it you'll be allowed to respond to both. Did you propose an amendment?
Yeah, paragraph 6.8. Paragraph 6.8, Mr Mayor. The first sentence, meetings will be convened as necessary by the Democratic Services and Scrutiny Manager in liaison with the Chief Executive, and with these following words added, and all the members of the group, ensuring a meeting only goes ahead when all members can attend.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you.
Second that.
Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr Mayor, sorry.
First time tonight though.
You are awful.
Hour and a half.
Right. Mr Mayor, I telephoned Councillor Fale and I literally explained to him in as clearly as I could that the reason why we're not saying daytime or evening is because we will arrange the meetings when the most number of people possible are available. We will be flexible, okay? You've seen the membership. The membership of the Conservative group is myself, self-employed. You've got Councillor Berry, who is retired, Councillor Marinell, nobody knows what he does, and Sir Robert, who is busy but also retired. So we are flexible both in terms of times and in meetings. The proposed amendment, however, completely frustrates the committee, because if one member says they are unavailable, then it can't meet, because we're guaranteeing that all are available. This is likely to happen over the summer. I may not be available. Another member of my group may not be available. Councillor Fail may not be available. So we would then have to put it in abeyance for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long Rob goes on holiday for. So I understand what he's saying. I am giving him my commitment that I will do everything I can with the Chief Executive to ensure all 6 members are available for every meeting, but that may not be possible. So I'm against the amendment, Madam Mayor, Mr Mayor, damn it. Not in spirit, because I agree with what he says, that we should make sure all 6 are available as it's a small group, but in practice, it just doesn't work.
Do any members wish to speak for or against the amendment? Thank you, Councillor Allison.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Reform Group also have an amendment, and that is basically regarding 6.4, and that is the numbers on the committee, and we would like to basically open it up to anybody wishing to go ahead, like a task group, for example.
How long do we need to deal with the first amendment, then we can come through to yours? Right, so we're working with the first amendment. Those in favour of the amendment, please show. Those against, please show. Any abstentions? The amendment is lost. So we'll continue with the original motion. Councillor Allison, please come in.
No, I was just asking if our amendment is also going to be voted on.
Yeah, we're starting again. Your amendment was different from the other one, so we're starting with you now. Can you please repeat the amendment so we know exactly where we are?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It was just simply at 6.4, scrapping the numbers and allowing all councillors to become involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Do any members wish to speak for or against? Councillor Vincent.
You know it's not about marshmallow sales, not you, Councillor Ellison. Not the only thing you ever speak about. With regards to this proposal, task groups, you only have to look at the attendance of task groups to know why this is a terrible idea. People come to one meeting and then don't come to any more. They sort of come and go as they please. They are not particularly well attended. Effectively, the proposal is to make this working group have 50 members. You could have members turning up as and when they pleased, reading some, all or none of it, and then voting on something that is absolutely fundamental, having done none of the reading, having no understanding of it, paid no attention whatsoever. That it is not a good idea.
Do we have any more questions? Right, Councillor, you're the proposer. Will you please respond to the debate?
Well, I think there was a slight contradiction on what Councillor Vincent said there, but like I say, the Reform Group's disappointed that we weren't kind of corresponded to, we weren't involved in any of these discussions, and like I say, we'd like to open it up to everybody, and because of course we'd would like to be involved. Thank you.
Right, we need to move to the vote now. On the amendment, of course. Those for? Those against? Any abstentions? The amendment is lost, so we'll continue to debate the original motion. Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Vincent is the proposer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two quick points, if I may. Substitutes don't exist in our constitution, so we can't have substitutes. And secondly, the committee has been, it's 3 Conservative cabinet members, 2 Labour members, and then the reason why I want 4 Conservatives is because I would like Sir Robert to sit on it because he has vast experience of boundary changes, and he has also very successfully chaired the Climate Change Committee in a non-partisan, apolitical way, so I hope that gives you some assurance.
Are we done? Time to vote. So that concludes the debate. Would members please vote now on the recommendations? Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. Any abstentions? Recommendations approved. The next item is item 10, Treasury Management Outturn, it says here, Report 2024-2025. So the Treasury Management report will be delivered by Councillor McKay. Would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Yeah, the report's before members and I put forward the recommendation at 3.1. Happy to take any questions.
I think we need a seconder first, don't we? Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Fylde, you've got a question.
Yeah, para 5.4.1 informs us that as at 31st of March 2025, reserves and balances are 5 million greater than budgeted. Apparently it's not all additional monies, as 2 million or so is slippage to be spent in 25-26. Nevertheless, excluding that leaves an extra 2.5 million or so in council coffers. I'm sure members would be interested to hear of what plans are in place to make good use of the significantly increased balances and reserves for the benefit of Wyre Council, Wyre residents.
No.
Do we have any more questions? I was just thinking that. Aircon, is that?
5.1.4.
Are we on the wrong report? Are we on the right report?
5.1. Table at the bottom of page 86.
Oh, right, okay. Thank you, Councillor Fell. I think I would agree with you, but we're back to where Councillor Vincent took us at the start of the meeting. We're in a really precarious position. We know funding is being slashed. So the position we're in at the moment, whilst it does look good and it does look healthy. We know down the road that we're going to have to draw on those reserves just to keep our heads above water, and that's the position we're in, I'm afraid.
Do you have any more questions? So, Councillor McKay, I keep thinking of porridge. As the proposer of the recommendation, would you please respond to the debate?
I don't know how to respond to that. Can I propose the recommendation at 3.1? Thank you.
That concludes the debate. Would members please vote now on the recommendation? Those in favour, please show. Unanimous. Recommendation approved. The next item is item 11, Asset Management Strategy and Plan for 2025 to 2029. Councillor McKay, could you please introduce the report and propose the recommendations?
Yep, the report's before members. It's an excellent report, and I think it's a really interesting read, when we realise exactly what we do have in this borough, and we do need to protect it, and we do need to have a plan going forward to make the best use of these assets and protect them. Happy to take any questions and put forward the recommendation at 3.1.
Do we have a seconder for that proposal before we take questions? Thank you, Councillor. Right, Councillor Wells, I think you're the first.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's just in regards to page 112 of the Asset Management Strategy, where it sets out it estimates that the essential maintenance of Wyre's assets is nearly £5.5 million. And whilst only £293,000 has been budgeted per annum going forward, by my very basic calculations, that's over 17 years. I appreciate that you might want to return back to the comment that's already been made about the lack of funds, but I would say that we're talking about the cost of backlog maintenance, and I think here there's a stronger question about why it's been allowed to get so high and for so long, especially given some of the earlier remarks about places like the Marine Hall, where we're only just getting onto the second bar. We sort of raise the question as to why that's not happened sooner, and perhaps this backlog is part of that picture. Thank you very much.
Councillor, do you want to respond?
Yep, thank you for the point, and it's a valid point. We have got a huge backlog, but there's a lot of contributing factors. We have struggled massively with our staffing in that area, getting people currently in that area of Wyre. We are struggling to get people out to jobs to do those repairs. It's not just the funding. We have got earmarked reserves for certain spends that will be certain areas that need doing immediately have got monies earmarked, and those will be addressed as part of separate funding issues. But yeah, we are where we are. We have got issues with funding going forward, and that's why we can't just commit to throwing £2 million towards any different venture at this point.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rushforth.
Can you please expand on our underperforming assets? In other words, do you have a list available of what's for the chop?
Oh, I will come back to you on that if that's okay. I haven't got a list to hand, but I'm sure I can get something together for you. Thank you.
Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have a few observations again. I knew you'd be pleased to hear that. Given the current strategy expired in 2023, I'm sure councillors would like an explanation as to why this wasn't addressed in 2023. In the Making Our Vision a Reality section on page 101 of the agenda, I think there is a need for some more appropriate terminology. Under innovative and customer focus, it states a well-run, forward-thinking council that puts customers first. This isn't a business, it's a council, and the council works for the residents, not the other way round. So the relevant section would really benefit from a change in terminology. In the key areas of focus section on page 114 of the agenda, the first bullet refers to the sale of non-income and low-income generating assets. The devil is always in the detail, but without that detail, it's not clear what councillors are being asked to sign up to. A golf course may bring in low income, but its worth to the community, physical and mental health, and to the environment is incalculable. As such, income is not the only determining factor, and determining so-called underperforming properties or assets is often very subjective. As an example, the council may have looked at Bourne Hill in this light, but had archaeological tourism been a consideration, then the decision-making process might have been very different. There's also a concern that a case could be made to sell when the real problem is the management and the investment in a property. For instance, Marine Hall, where underinvestment and poor decision-making, for example, the disgraceful ripping out of the Wyre lounge, is at the heart of the current status. Contrary to what is claimed on page 110, the Marine Hall is sustainable. It just needs proper investment and management. Where there's a will, there's a way. A final example why this needs re-looking at is Action 20 on page 124 of the agenda, which suggests exploring options for the surplus brownfield land off Hargreaves Street, Thornton-Clevelys. Firstly, this land is public open space on the local plan. It isn't brownfield. And secondly, surplus suggests mines have already been made up. With Wyre having an acknowledged shortage of public open space, dismissing green open spaces so easily sets alarm bells ringing for me, and I'm sure residents will be equally unimpressed. As it stands, the strategy is in need of being tightened up in a number of places. We believe this strategy needs a more considered approach, with a working group tasked and with resolving these issues prior to being brought back to full council. I therefore propose that a decision is deferred to enable a working group to consider issues raised. Thank you.
Councillor McKay as proposer, would you like to respond to the debate? You can.
Mr Mayor, I second that proposal. Thank you.
You can. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you, Councillor Fail. Yep. I do not want to be disposing of any assets. That's not what this is about. It's a strategy document, and certainly when we're looking at assets, it would never be just on a case of how economically viable they were. That would never be just the criteria. It would always be on the value to the community. It would never just be on monetary terms. With specifics like the Hargreaves Street in Thornton, I'm not, I don't know that site, but no decisions have been made in this. This is just a strategic document, if that alleviates any of your concerns.
It's incorrectly stating information on Hargreaves Street for one thing there. Public open space. It says brownfield and it's surplus. Neither of those two is true.
I'd have to take guidance on that. I don't know the site. Is there anyone who knows that? No.
Is that it? Are we done?
I'm sorry, Councillor Fair, is there anything else you want me to come back on there? Sorry, you gave me a lot of information.
Just agree to a working group, basically.
I'm afraid it's a strategic document, and it's not defining anything that's going forward. It's just setting a pathway, and decisions aren't being made in this. I don't think we need a task group to look at this document. I think that would actually hinder it and would delay the process. You did comment that this was due in 2023, and you know fully well documents like this take time, months to come through. Any sort of delay wouldn't help this process.
If I can just clarify where I think we're at. So we're taking this as an amendment to basically defer the decision on the asset management strategy, do a working group and bring it back at a later date. So I can accept that amendment. Councillor Wells has seconded that amendment. So it's now, I'll pass back to the Mayor. We're now anyone speaking for or against that amendment.
I see some hands. You were first, I think, and then go on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking for the Marine Hall and I can't find it. And I've looked before and thought, it's got to be there, you're just not looking properly. So I've looked and I've looked and I've looked. And it's not under operational property asset breakdown. It's not under investment asset type breakdown. It's not under community asset type breakdown. Or even a heritage asset type breakdown. Is there a reason for this? Thank you.
So if, sorry, Councillor Belshaw, we're looking at page 105, where they go back, yeah.
I've looked all the way through, I've just used that one because that's where it's all listed.
Yeah, it, as Councillor Vincent says, it isn't a comprehensive list, they're just examples of what those type of assets are.
I think we're going a little bit off track in the MERS. That's fair enough. We're speaking about the amendment, whether you're for or against it.
Could I just come in? I've just been advised it has gone to ONS committee, this. Which if...
Right, Councillor Sorensen had his hand up as well, didn't you?
Yes, it's maybe sort of a side issue really, but I'd just like to wonder as to whether part of the strategy could actually consider the idea of purchasing some land for public use, because the developments that have gone on in this area over the last 30, 40 years are so significant. I think it becomes even more important that the council invest in some land for public use. And I'd like to know, not that you're not going to have the answer to this, when was the last time Wyre did that?
I can get back to you on that, but as has been referred to earlier, we're just not in a financial position to commit to purchasing any land at the moment.
You did just say though previously that decisions aren't always financial, it can be about the community.
Just like to remind everybody that the question should be on the amendment, not on the actual report itself. So, Councillor Fowle, I think you were the proposer, weren't you? Can you respond?
I just think there's a number of things that need changing here. I don't think we've got the time now to go through those individually and name them and say we need to make an amendment on this and this. I think it needs taking away and just clarifying, and fine, we might not be just considering the economic value. If that's the case, then it needs to be stated that that's the case. So we haven't addressed the making our vision a reality. A change needs to be made there. It's not being confirmed about the key areas of focus and what councillors are actually signing up to do. I think that needs clarifying so that we know exactly what we're saying. It's a strategy, yes, but I don't want to be signing up to things that where we're actually, it will result in us losing assets that we shouldn't be losing. And one of those, in my opinion, is Hargreaves Street. I've no idea what's gone on there, but I've no idea how we've got to a position where it's allocated in the local plan as green space, and suddenly it's now brownfield and it's surplus. Who's decided that? I've never seen that. I know I'm no longer on overview and scrutiny, so apologies. I might have missed it in the last year or whatever it was. But anyway, I think there's too many things to change at this moment in time, and I stand by the amendment that is required to get a working group. This working group could probably sit in one sitting and resolve the individual issues that I and maybe other councillors have got here. It's not. It might have gone to an ONS, but clearly these things are still standing there, and I'm sure a group of 12 people not necessarily see everything, and I've seen these, and I'm sure other people have seen other things there that they're not content with. Personally, I don't think it's quite right at this moment in time. Ready. Thank you.
I think it's about time to move to a vote on the amendment. So can I see a show of hands for those who are for it? Those against? Any abstentions? The amendment is lost. We'll continue to debate the original motion. Right, Councillor Mackay, you're the proposer of the original motion.
Right, we'll move to the vote, but Councillor Fale, I will come back to you on that Hargreave Street, because I don't have the answer for you, and I'll come back to you on that point.
Time to move to the vote. Can I see a show of hands for who's for? And those against? Well, I'll bet there's no abstentions, is there? So the recommendation's approved. So the next item is item 12, appointment of an independent persons to the Audit and Standards Committee. Councillor Vincent, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Happy to do so, Mr. Mayor. It's before members. It just makes total sense, so I hope we're all in favour of it.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments, questions or amendments? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. I've been introduced to just get Mrs. Nikki Parker, and I feel she'll be an excellent asset to our committee.
Thank you for that. Anyone? Back to Councillor Vincent. Right, we're moving to the vote then. I'm getting bored of seeing this 4 times tonight. All in favour? Unanimous. Carried. We've accelerated to a snail's pace now. So, next item is number 13, overview and scrutiny, annual report 2024-25. So, Councillor Cartridge, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it very brief. I just want to thank all the people who have thanked in the forward of the report, but I'd also like to thank Jack Tickle for all his hard work on the committee. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
Do you have any questions or comments? Oh God. I think we can move to a vote, can't we?
Just for noting, the report's noted.
So the report's noted. God, we're rocketing along now. The next item is item 14, periodic report. So the lead member for mental health. Councillor Robinson.
I'll just crack on, have I?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, the report is before members, but I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Mark Broadhurst and obviously the team of officers for their continued support and to raise awareness and to improve and support good mental health in Wyre. And happy to take any questions, but it's all in the report. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? That'll be the first time tonight then. Report is noted. So the next item, which is item 15, is the periodic report. The lead member for older people, Councillor Amos, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Mayor. The report's in front of you. I'll try and answer any questions. Thank you.
Do we have any comments or questions? Councillor Rushforth is waving her arms.
Hello, Councillor Amos. I would just like to say, and I've lost the words for it really, but you know, the home care, that facility has been really greatly appreciated by quite a few members of my ward. It really makes them feel looked after and valued by Wyre. So please thank everybody very much for that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know whether people are fanning or raising hands for some reason. Do we have any questions for Councillor Robinson or comments? Right.
And then we're done.
The acceleration fair made me dizzy. Right. I think the report's noted. And we have no notice of motions. Therefore, I close this meeting and thank you for your attendance.